Waiting. We are live. Wow, check it out. For the first time in a couple of years, folks, the masters of YouTube have come together, at least
We're
75%.
75%. We're
Yeah,
missing one.
exactly. I'm super happy, folks. By the way, I'm Paul. I'm the host of the DevRunner channel here on YouTube, and I'm a runner. I'm a running coach. The Masters of YouTube is kind of like this wonderful group of people, people that I'm very proud to be associated with. And we've got Heather here from Running Geek Girl, and we've got Susie here from I Run Things. And Brian Rosser from Rosser Runs was supposed to be with us, but he got called away for a last minute sort of opportunity that he could not turn down. And I do not blame him. So next time we will see Brian. But yeah, folks, as I'm sure many of you know, my appearances on YouTube have been sporadic and far between lately. But I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to talk with Susie and with Heather about how their running is going, what their future plans are, what they're doing these days, and anything that we find exciting. And if you join us during this live stream, I encourage you to drop your comments so that we can you can help steer the direction of the conversation. And if you're watching this after the fact, please feel free to drop some comments below the video, and we will get back to you, no doubt about it. So with all of that housekeeping out of the way, Heather, let's start with you.
Yes.
What have you been up to in the last 6 months? What are you doing now, and what are your future plans running wise? We can expand out from there later. But
all right. Well, what I've been doing, I don't know. It feels like a whole lot more of the same because I'm still working on a half marathon or greater in every state. I picked up a few more states, but it's been a little bit slow going just because, when you have kids, that's kind of the focus. I got to make sure that they're in school and doing what they're supposed to do and all that fun stuff. But I'm still chipping away at that goal. So I've knocked a few other states out. Did my first 50 miler last November. Cool. I would have liked to have gone farther, but I'd been taking care of my daughter that week because she was really sick and had passed it on to me, and I didn't know it. And so I had to pull myself out. It was a 24-hour race. I had to pull myself out after 19 and a half hours because I was running a fever and didn't know what was going on anymore. So other than that, just been doing some more, just kind of looking around at other opportunities to run. I have a group that I'm going to be doing something with in October of 2025. So as soon as we get all of that set up, then I'll be making some announcements about that. And just doing another trail run on the 17th, the Scorching Squirrel, which is, if you watch the channel, it's one that I do every year. It was my first trail race, and so I do that every year now. And hopefully get back to that 24-hour run in November and maybe knock out 100K.
Wow. So you just keep going bigger and bigger with the mileage. That's pretty impressive.
I think 100K is going to be my limit. I cannot do 100 miler. That's ridiculous.
So you say now.
Oh my God.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I ran my first, attempted my first 50 miler last year, and didn't quite get there, but I did take my revenge this past June, so yeah. I'm happy with that. But so I know a little bit of what you're speaking of when it comes to those massive distances.
It was a great video with you crossing the finish line as the sun was coming up. That was great.
Oh, I appreciate you watching.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Super cool. So Susie, same question. What have you been up to in the last 6 months? What are you doing now, and what are the future plans for running?
So I actually have a lot cooking. I have a lot that's going to be happening, and very excited. So currently I'm training for the Atlantic City Marathon. And it's one that I ran it in 2022, missed my PR by 2 minutes. So I will be trying to PR in that one. I think it's within distance. I think I can do it, but you never know because marathons are so hard. And even though it's late October, if there's a hot day, I can't, for the love of God, I can't run when it's hot. I legit, it's like, yeah, that's kind of my kryptonite. So if we have a hot day, it's not going to happen. And if that is the case, if I can't PR at Atlantic City, I'll probably try and find another marathon to PR after that one.
Wow. So your plans are sounding very similar to mine.
But hopefully I can PR, because typically the weather in Atlantic City is, and I don't want to, because I know you're going to talk about this fall as well, but the weather in Atlantic City in October, at the end of October, tends to be mild. So it could be hot, but like the probability of that happening is not very high. It's probably a 10% chance that it's going to be a negative day that's 80 Fahrenheit. So
yeah.
And then after that, I'm going to start training for my first ultra. I'm riding Trans Gran Canaria with a friend, and that's in February.
Yay!
That's awesome.
14,000
now, what's the
feet of
distance on that
elevation.
one? How far do you have to go? What's the distance on that?
There's different distances. We're not running the longest one. That's the one that Corny the Walter runs every year. So and Pau Capel runs every year too. It's one of the World Trail majors. So it's a big race. We're running the immediate after that one. So it's 53 miles with 14,000 feet of elevation.
Oh, so, man.
Yeah, the cutoff is 22 hours. So hopefully we cross and finish within those 22 hours.
Gotcha. Wow. That's going to be exciting and grueling. Wow.
Yeah, that elevation.
The elevation is going to be the worst part. Yeah. It's, the weather in February, it's in the Canary Islands. So it's supposed to be, it could be even a little bit cooler. There's been years that it's been cooler. So you have to run with a winter pack, they call it. So you have to have, a fleece with you, and you have to have winter pants and like gloves and a hat. So they actually check your bag at the start line to make sure that you have that in case when you're going up, because it's 14,000 feet up and then 14,000 feet down. So you start at sea level pretty much, and then you go up and then down again to sea level.
Wow.
So anything could happen, but I'm very excited about that. And then in the middle there, I'm going to run Disney Marathon as a training run. So yeah. And then after that, after the race in February, Trans Gran Canaria, I'm doing the Camino de Santiago in June. And that's 500 miles crossing Spain.
Wow. Good for you. Yeah. Wow. So
I'm doing all of this with friends. So I have crazy friends. What can I say? Yeah.
I see Ben's here in the chat. Yeah. Hi.
Ben just jumped in and he says, sounds amazing. The Trans Gran Canaria. Cool. Good to see you, Ben. How are you? It's been a long time, but I'm glad you're here.
Ben runs a lot of ultras as well.
He does.
Yeah, he's amazing.
That's my plan. Yeah, those are my plans.
That's super cool. So you're going from big to bigger to biggest. So this is what it sounds like.
Camino de Santiago is really not an endurance event. It's more like a spiritual journey. It's really a pilgrimage. So you can't do it for religious reasons or for other reasons. A lot of people do it for the experience. So, but yeah, you sleep in hostels every night in a different hostel, and it takes you 34 days to cross Spain from the Pyrenees all the way to the west. So
that is so cool.
Very cool.
So cool.
500,000 people do it every year. So it's
wow.
a good thing.
Wow. So I guess you're going to be, I hope not, but it sounds like you may be sort of weaving between people.
Very possibly, because June is the high, it's like high season. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The more the better, like it's an opportunity also to be social and meet new people and people from all walks of life, because it's, people from everywhere do it. So yeah. Like from all over.
And by the way, everybody that's watching this, if you join Susie's Patreon, then she gives you a lot of this information before she tells anybody else. So
Patreon. Thanks for the pitch. There's one of my favorites.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Both of you are gonna have to forgive me, because I've been so out of the loop on YouTube that I have no idea. I have no idea what anybody's up to these
You're
days.
learning this now, all of these. So.
So yeah, cool. Yeah, for me, the last, my running has kind of come back from zero. I don't think it's any secret that my wife passed away last November, and I kind of I've just, running was not on the agenda after that. But
right,
I spent a couple of months, running really minimally, and so I signed myself up for, before the camera started rolling, Heather and I were talking about what we'd been up to, and I did share very briefly at the beginning that I came back and I ran the Bethel Hill Moonlight Boogie, which is a 50-mile road ultra. I ran it in 2023. I only made it to mile 38. So this year, 2024, was the final year that they're actually holding that race, that they held that race. So it was kind of, if I was going to take my revenge on that race, it was now or never. So I went in, got it done. And that, I think, that was important for me, not just spiritually, but I think as far as, just being a runner, it allowed me to safely and slowly rebuild my mileage base. And I got to run it on hills. So even if I wanted to try to run fast, I couldn't. so it was kind of nice to kind of take that pressure off. But one thing Susie and I have in common, everybody, is that we're both running the Atlantic City Marathon this coming October. I'll be in New Jersey with a running client of mine, actually, who's going to run it as well. We're going to travel up there together. And originally, my plan was to try to PR, much like Susie. I was going to go to AC and try to run the fastest marathon of my life. 5 or 6 weeks into my training cycle now, I don't think that's going to happen realistically. I don't know if it's the summer heat and humidity talking that's kind of, making me feel like maybe I'm not as good shape as I want to be. I don't know, but I would really, at this point, I'd be perfectly happy running Atlantic City and getting within like a minute or two of my marathon PR. So if I can get anywhere near a 2:52, I'm happy. And then, like Susie, I will attempt the fastest post-marathon recovery that's possible, because I'm thinking either in January I'll go to Texas. I'll go to Houston to attempt a PR again. Or if that seems like it's too short a window for training, I'll probably push all the way back to March and try Myrtle Beach again.
Good one.
But yeah, hopefully by next spring I'll be able to say I've got a 2:49 under my belt. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's where we are now. And what that brings to mind, a question that I'd like to ask both of you is, this time around in your training cycles for the respective races that you're working towards, what are you doing differently? Is there anything where you can say, I've kind of gone through this particular means of training several times. It's gotten you so far, but not all the way. And what are you tweaking? What are you changing? What are you increasing? What are you decreasing? Before we get into that, I just want to say hi, Carol. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Carol. I can't see the messages, by the way, so I'm not.
Okay, Carol says hello, Paul, Heather, and Susie, and a smiley face.
Carol.
So Heather, if you want to take that on first, I'd love to know, like, don't just tell us the way you're training now, but how does that differ from the way you have in the past?
For years, I steered away from speed workouts just because I was scared of them. Okay. And just knowing that I'm not built for speed. That's not the way my body was built. And it does take me a long time to learn something. Again, for those of you who watch my channel, I've talked about the fact before that I am autistic, and therefore it's harder for my muscles to develop muscle memory. So it takes a lot of work to train my body to do something. And I have finally, in maybe the last 8 months or so, I have a coach through Vert.Run who has been like, no, you really can do this. You can, so he started easing me into, one speed session a week, and it'd be like just a fartlek run. So no pressure or anything like that. And he's been, over the past 8 months or so, increasing the intensity and just kind of changing my goals for each speed workout. And I'm actually seeing myself do that. And that has been a huge confidence booster.
Awesome.
It doesn't always pay off in faster times per se. my easy pace has gotten faster. My tempo pace has gotten faster, but it's not what a lot of people would consider like really fast. I'm not going to be, you know, sub 5 on a marathon anytime soon. But there is just those incremental bits of improvement, and all of that speed is paying off when it comes to when I have to tackle hills when I'm on trails,
Okay.
because same muscles, the same muscles that I need to start pushing myself forward are the same ones that I use to push myself up. So that's been, I don't know why it was such a mental stumbling block for a long time of I can't do speed because I'm not a fast runner, into, if I just do a little bit of speed, it does pay off. So that's been a huge change.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad to. I love it when runners find new ways to challenge themselves in a without taking on too much at once. It's because that's the way it's done.
Yeah.
If you go too gung ho, you just hurt yourself. And
Yeah.
it's like more demoralizing than anything. But
And don't get me wrong, my physical therapist is always telling me, I need you to stop messing up your lower back. I'm like, no, sorry.
yeah. I mean, runners are very A-type personalities, and it's like if you tell us not to do something, it's like a way of guaranteeing we're going to do more of it.
Yeah.
That's funny. So Susie, same question for you. What have your traditional sort of marathon training blocks look like, and what's changed this time? And I know you've made some pretty big changes, so I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah. So for me, I'm doing a lot more speed. I'm doing a little bit less now because I'm training for Atlantic City Marathon, so I'm doing more marathon pace workouts.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the whole summer and even before the summer, really since November last year, I started doing a lot of very short speed intervals. So I'm talking 60, 90s, 120s, like mixing, in different workouts. And that actually worked really, really well for me because when I did Dopey, I didn't train for Dopey with very high mileage. I think I topped up like 40, 42 miles a week, but I was in really good shape. Like the whole weekend, I felt like I could, yeah.
You just felt
And
durable.
I wasn't trying to break any records or anything, but I actually missed my PR, my marathon PR on the marathon by like less than 2 minutes. So,
wow,
so it was a really good marathon. So that gave me an indication that I was doing things right. So to me, everything is just super polarizing. Doing your, easy runs, super, super easy. And I'm talking right now, I'm doing my easy runs at like 12-minute mile pace or 12, 30-minute mile pace, which is super, super slow for me. I've never run that slow in my life. But then when I do my speed interval training, I'm doing my intervals like like the fast intervals, the 60s and maybe 650 or 625, something like that. So like I'm going as fast as I can. I can't go any faster. Like a bear is going after me, just running. So yeah, and actually that's the first time I started doing them. That's what I was picturing. I was like, picture, my son was a little kid and a car was coming through the street and he was going after him. Like I was visualizing things like that, like just running from something or, like just go as fast as you can. And it really surprises you because then you realize that you really can go fast. So that has helped me a lot, I think, because again, it teaches your muscles to really burn that lactic acid and you take your recoveries really easy. You walk in between the recoveries and then you go at it again super fast. So
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that to me that has been working better. But I am running less mileage than I was running. So right now this week I did 33 miles.
Okay.
Total. And I think next week I'm running another 30. So it doesn't really peak this training plan following this with Ben Parks. It doesn't really peak. It peaks, I think, at 48. So it's not a lot of mileage. But everything really has a purpose. So all the runs have something in them. So when I do easy runs, strides at the end, 20-second strides as fast as you can do them. The speed training is like 400 meters, again, a lot, like super fast. I have tempos in there every other week. There's a tempo. The tempos are short. They're like 1 mile warming up, 1 mile cooling down, and then like 2 miles of tempo. So they're short and sweet. But then the long runs have marathon pace in there. So I'm doing like.
That's important. That's huge.
Yeah,
that's
like
great to hear.
16 miles. And then the 16 miles, like these long runs are tough. They're 16 miles and it's like 4 miles warming up and then 2 at marathon pace and then 2 easy and then 2 at marathon pace and then 2 easy. It's like, yeah. So it teaches your body to really keep going. Which is also
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I love long runs that have workouts built into them because it helps that time go by so much better. Before we go on, I want to say hey to Michael Bartlett.
Hi, Michael.
Oh, Michael.
Thanks for dropping in, Michael. I was just talking before we went live, I was talking to Heather about your latest accomplishment. And if I may, I just want to share this with everybody. Hopefully I can talk Michael into a dedicated video where I interview him about this, but just in case he backs out, I just want to give him a shout out because Michael, for those of you who've followed my channel for a number of years, you were probably familiar with Michael as he's a friend of mine. He's a coworker. He's a fellow runner. And he's been chasing a sub 20-minute 5K for a good couple of years now. And he's gotten so close. I think he ran a 20:01 once. And it's just been one of those things where it just evaded him and eluded him. And Saturday, Michael went out and he to run a 5K. And keep in mind, folks, even in the mountains of North Carolina, which is where he ran the race, it's still warm. It's still very warm. It was like 65, 70 degrees. And Michael says 3 years he's been chasing that sub 20. And he went out there and, we had talked during the week at work and he was convinced that he was probably in like 21-minute shape. And he just wanted to use this race just to kind of like get a good handle on where he was and how much more work he was going to have to put in. Well, folks, I'm happy to report that Michael is now a sub 20 5K runner. He did not just squeak under the line, folks. He ran a 19:30 and said he had more in the tank. He said he had more in the tank. So if I have any influence over Michael's immediate future with running, he's going to be chasing a sub 19, hopefully before winter hits. So congratulations, Michael. I'm super proud of you. That was just an amazing race. So
yeah, I forgot to say I PR'd. Now, sorry about the pitch.
Yeah, I was going to say, talk about that 10K.
Yeah, please
I PR'd
do.
in the 10K. It's just like in running, it's like you're always chasing the next best thing. So I completely forgot. But yes, I PR'd in June in the 10K. Yeah, by
Good
5
for
minutes.
you.
Yeah.
By 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Wow,
a whole
that's
5
crushing.
minutes.
That's crushing.
Actually, yes, a whole 5 minutes. Yeah.
Wow, that's like what, 40 some odd seconds per mile faster than your former.
And let me tell you, I was going through the training. That's sometimes you go through training block and you're like doing so well. You're like, I'm gonna slay this next race. And other times you're constantly chasing the paces in your training, and then you have a really good race. So that's what happened to me. I did a 5K time trial.
Okay.
And I ran it slower than I ran my whole 10K. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to PR because that 5K time trial during my training block put me over my PR. So I was like, I'm not going to PR, which is not within reach. And then I ran it in Madrid. I was jet lagged. I hadn't been able to sleep that night more than 3 hours.
Wow.
So I was going into it like, well, I'll do what I can. Like literally, I filmed in the video, I'm saying, I'll do what I can. And then when I crossed the 5K, the middle of the race, I looked at my watch and I was like, holy cow, I can PR. But I feel that moment. I was just going, it's like I remember vividly looking and saying, wow, I can PR. And then I kept going. I actually ran the second half like 30 seconds faster than the first
Negative
half. I knew it was like, I'm going to PR.
Good for you. That's great. That's great. And so you just hit a good day where, despite the lack of sleep, perhaps it was just you had done a good job of tapering, apparently. So
I think I tapered really well for that race because
yeah,
I got sick. I attributed to getting sick. I got sick 2 weeks before the race, and it forced me to not run as much.
gotcha.
So 2 weeks going
Mhm.
into the race, I got sick and I could not run. Like I think I ran 15 miles that week, and then the following week I was like, "Well, we're tapering. I'm running next week. The hay's in the barn." So I ran another 15 miles. It was not like, so I think it tapered really well. I
Yeah,
was like, I really wanted to run fast. Like my body wanted to like go.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling when you're at the start line of any race, any distance, and you can just feel the energy just built up inside you. That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. So yeah, I mean, for me, you guys, it seems like you've made significant tactical changes to the way you're approaching your training this
Mhm.
time around. Um, I think probably another reason why I'm not putting all my hopes and dreams into Atlantic City as far as a PR goes, is because I feel like I need to just cover the basic bases again, just to get myself
Mhm.
back this time around. I am currently I just finished a 21-mile long run this morning, um, so I'm getting back to kind of the mileage that I'm getting at the. I'm approaching the bottom end of the mileage that I'm used to for
Mhm.
a marathon buildup again, which for me I think is a win, just to get back to close to what I used to do. This
Mhm.
was a 77-mile week for me this week. I'm hoping. I don't think I'm going to get much past like 85 miles at my maximum, my high point week for this particular um, uh, training block, and that is for a couple of reasons. Work is very demanding at this point,
Mhm.
so trying to fit in singles, like one run a day is like a big
Mhm.
enough challenge. So, and I can't imagine until I can sort of figure out a better work-life balance where I'm, either running before and after work every day. Doubles are just not doable. So,
Right.
so, so I'm just trying to get to 85 miles with one run a day, and that's just that's challenging enough. So, if I can get anywhere near um, my marathon PR on that kind of mileage, then that will give me a lot of confidence because
Mhm.
my marathon PR, all my best 3 marathon performances time wise, not for how I felt at the end, um, they all came off of training blocks that were like 105 to 110 miles a week. So
Right.
I can get close on 85 miles a week, then hooray, no complaints. Um, So I'd love to get hey Ben not
Hey,
Liz, just
Ben.
how you
Hi,
doing, Ben?
Ben.
So yeah, I would love to talk about, I know Susie you're up in Pennsylvania, but Heather lives this a very similar sort of summer experience to me because she's in
Yes.
Arkansas and she knows what humidity are all about. Um, how 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 are you guys dealing with summer training? Because that's another factor that I don't think gets enough sort of press with the cool trendsetters out there. It training over the summer for a fall marathon or for a fall race of any kind is a very different beast than when you get to train in cool weather throughout. So Heather, just give me a brain dump on that. What do you do
Um,
with this?
I complain about it a lot, but that doesn't really help much. Makes me feel a little better though.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, lots of hydration. So much, especially watching my electrolytes because I tend to be a really salty sweater.
Hmm.
So my electrolytes can get out of whack really fast, um, which is something I didn't know way back when I first started running. I didn't know that about myself. And now that I know it now, I can keep a better eye on it. And I know that, like, if my fingers start swelling, then I'm already way behind where I'm supposed to be on electrolytes. And so I have to like dump the water, go straight electrolytes. So watching watching that has been a big part of it this summer.
Very good, very good, very smart, and good advice for everybody who's watching. even your short runs, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
in the fall, in the winter, you know, it's very common for me to tell my runners, my clients, you know, if you're going out for an hour or less, don't bother with hydration. But that's only true, folks, if you're running in the fall or the winter when it's cool.
Yeah. If you're not
Even
going to sweat to death.
yeah, I mean, even, you know, when I go out for my easy runs, which are shorter runs, even during this marathon block, it's so hot here. It's always over 90 degrees and at
Mm-hmm.
least 90% humidity here every single day for months on end. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't go out for even an easy sub 1 hour run without bringing hydration, or you're just asking. You may get through the run,
Yeah.
but what you're doing is, even if you survive the run and you feel okay at the end of that run, you're putting yourself in a hole so that when you have to go out the next day and try to perform well, don't let it, it's no mystery why you're not hitting the marks that you want to hit, unless you're just staying on top of that hydration, keeping those electrolytes and those salts really,
Right.
you know, topped up.
And
So,
especially if I know I'm going to have a long run the next day, I'm going to hydrate a lot the day before.
yeah, good for you.
I
Yeah.
think staying ahead of it is the most important. I mean, it is equally as important as drinking during your run.
Mm-hmm.
It's the day before matters too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because you go into your run, you're topping your hydration. So, you know, your muscles have more water. You're in a better position to just perform during your run. It's not only performing, it's just feeling better too. Like
exactly.
if I can tell I run dehydrated because I am sore. If I am hydrated, I'm not sore at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like I can go and run and I'm fine. So
You
to
know, it's
me, what
funny.
has made the difference is my Camelback. It's interesting how an item, because last year my Camelback was chasing me everywhere, so I could not use it. So I was running around the house and just drinking water when I was passing the house.
Gotcha.
Which limits you because I was running around the house. It's like 3.5 miles just doing the loop. First of all, it's super boring. And second of all, it's 3.5 miles that you're not drinking.
Mm-hmm.
But now with my Camelback, I drink when I'm thirsty, and I feel a lot better. So
Yeah.
I'm drinking a lot more than I was drinking last year.
Good.
So
yeah, it helps you recover from the runs much quicker too. You know, it's funny because speaking of the Camelback, it takes me so long. Like when I'm preparing for my long runs, I love my Camelback too, but I'm very preparing for that long run when you know you're going to have to, you know, mix your drinks, get them into the bladder, get the bladder into the backpack, and figure out what's going in what pocket and stuff.
Get
me,
the
anyway,
air out of the bladder so it doesn't slosh around.
Exactly. To avoid the sloshing and stuff. It's funny because, you know, it's a great tool, but it can be very time consuming to use one just to set it up.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, even this morning for my 21 miler, last night I was thinking, do I want to use the Camelback, or what I ended up doing was I had a handheld, an 18-ounce handheld, and that can usually, especially in this heat, that 18 ounces I can't really get further than 6 or 7 miles with the amount of liquid that's in there.
I wouldn't be able to either.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I did was I actually just filled 3 of them, kept 2 of them, put 2 in the fridge, brought one with me. And I did something very similar to what you're talking about, Susie. I had like a 7-mile loop that never got more than like 2 miles from my house this morning. So I did 7 miles and made sure at the end of that 7 miles, I was pulling right up to my house, literally ran in the back door, grabbed the next one out of the fridge, and then back out again with like 30 seconds, you know, lost. And in this kind of heat, not having that pack to make me sweat more was the main reason that I chose to go that way.
Yeah, the thing with the backpacks is that you sweat a lot more. But on the other hand, I keep thinking now, because I load it, and when I go for my long runs, I usually carry my self-flying camera, both cameras, like I carry a lot of stuff, and then the water. I probably am carrying like another 5 pounds. So I keep thinking, it's gonna be so liberating when it's self-support. You know, it's a race where the water is out there. Because Atlantic City Marathon, they have the water, you know, the stations are so close to each other. Like every 2 miles you have water. So I'm not
Good
gonna
stuff.
run with anything.
Mhm.
I'll probably have a belt for the gels. That's it. I'm not, because
You know,
they have water and Gatorade or whatever other Powerade, whatever they use. I forgot what they use. So
I have,
I'm not gonna. So I'm like, it's gonna be so much better to run without the 5 pounds in my back.
oh yeah, yeah, it makes a
Mhm.
big difference. Yeah, because it's funny. I've run 13 marathons now, and I've run every single one with a hydration pack on my back. And just like you're saying, Susie, it's like it's hard to get on pace in those first couple of miles when you've got 5 pounds of water on your back. And you know, people think 5 pounds, that's nothing. But
It's a
man,
big
you
deal.
feel it. And
I don't want to, you do you're an adult and you have experience, but in Atlantic City, depending on the weather in October, you might not need to have that camelback on you.
well, that's what
I
I'm
think you.
thinking. I may actually
I
take
don't see many people with a camelbacks at Atlantic City Marathon. Whereas in other races, I do, because they have water, like they have so much water.
Yeah, that's very tempting because I've been looking for a race. Michael Bartlett and I have had this conversation on several occasions where I keep telling him I really want to break away from the wearing the hydration pack in the race,
Mhm.
because there are actually, I don't know if Boston is officially one or not, but there are several races where they do not
New
allow
York
you to wear
City,
one.
Yeah,
you
Boston won't
can't
let
wear
you.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I need to, if I'm ever going to run those, I need to kind of. I've been looking for a good opportunity where I could run a marathon without feeling sort of naked without it. And
Right.
Susie, this may be it. I may do Atlantic City just kind of like free with just a bunch of gels stuffed in my pockets.
If you have a good day, we could, like the year that I ran the marathon, we had like, I think we started at like 48, if I'm not mistaken. And then it warmed up and it was like 61 at the end. But I
Okay.
ran a 4:47. So if you were gonna run at 2:55 or 2:52 or 2:50, for you it could potentially be like cool temperatures
Yeah.
with maybe 50% humidity.
Yeah, which is
you
like fine.
could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, ideal, I love running in like 41, 42 degrees. Like, but how often do you actually get perfect conditions? I'll
Oh,
take
you
what
could
we
run
can get.
Philadelphia. Philadelphia is guaranteed. You're
Oh,
gonna get
really?
cold. Yeah. Well, it's
We
the
need to
week
talk about
before.
that race some more because I've always shied away from it simply because I thought maybe it was a little bit too hilly. But a lot of people say it's a
Well,
pretty quick
Philadelphia, it
race.
is hilly. I
Okay.
have to say though, the hills are in places, they're distributed kind of okay.
Okay.
It's not like New York City, for example, the first 13 miles, which is a half marathon, like half the race, you're flying because there's a ton of spectators and then it's completely flat. Well, you have
Yeah.
the Verrazano Bridge, but that's like mile one. And then after that, it's all flat. And then after the halfway is when like the hills are just like constant. It's a constant up and
Hmm.
down. So it's just the second half is so tough. But in Philadelphia, it's kind of like it's hilly, but it's up and down from the get go, and there's nothing really. I don't remember anything. I've run it twice. I don't remember anything super like where you're like, oh my god, another hill. No, you can't. Your legs get used to it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
like it's the course is so nice. I really honestly I love Philadelphia Marathon. I think the course is phenomenal. The half is really nice too. It's hilly as well, but again, it's like really well distributed.
And
So
when is that? Is that a November race? Am I recalling that
it's
properly?
it's
I
the
think so.
Sunday marathon is the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's what
wow.
I'm telling you. You're guaranteed you're gonna get kind of chilly weather. Yeah,
Oh, that's
you could get
great.
really. It could be really cold.
And
Like the
that
year
means
running with
that
my
means that
brother
the
was
race
really
is
cold.
over by the time Turkey Day comes along, so you can really eat like crazy. That's awesome.
It's like the last, a lot of people run it because it's the last race where you can really, in the Northeast that you can run without like snow, ice. Yeah, it's a great, I love Philadelphia Marathon Weekend. I think all the races are
That
great.
was the one you ran with your brother, wasn't it?
Yes, that
Yeah.
we got that's really weird. We got 16 Fahrenheit, max of 16 Fahrenheit. It was really cold. But then I ran the half marathon the following year and we had 50, I think it was 55, which is perfect conditions.
Yeah.
Perfect conditions for
Yeah.
a race.
So I got a question. It just kind of occurred to me as we've been talking here, because folks, if it hasn't been utterly apparent, I've got no agenda for this for this live stream at all. We're just talking.
You're doing great though. We're doing good.
That's kind of like a lot of our live streams, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the nice thing is that we've known each other for like what, three years at least
Yeah.
3
Or
years,
more.
and
Yeah.
it's just kind of very everybody's comfortable with each other, so we don't have to. I don't think we need talking points, but. One thing that I've been thinking about as I've been listening to the two of you speak, that I think could help a lot of the people who are watching this who are maybe newer runners, and I'm really curious, since you've become runners, since the early days when you kind of didn't even know what to expect from running, but you'd already reached the point where you knew you were a runner, like this was something you wanted to pursue because, not just for the physical benefits, but for the mental benefits as well. How do your goals differ for your running now? And I'm not talking about like time goals. I'm not talking about I want to be able to run the Boston Marathon or anything along those lines. Even personal goals. How have they changed over time? Like when you were a new runner, what was like your ultimate, oh, if I can ever do this, versus where you are now?
I know for me, I think I was looking for that sense of accomplishment, and to an extent, I still do, because I never really put time goals on any of my races. It's like it'd be nice if I could do this, but honestly, I'm just looking to just cross the finish line. Feel like like I've done something. Um,
Mhm.
just yeah, that's really, and that's kind of what got me into running in the first place, was just it gave me something to deal with all my mental issues. I just needed space for myself. I was dealing with mom guilt, in that I felt like I could not leave my kids alone because they're going to die without me, but I finally had to learn to let that go and to take time for myself. And so that's kind of where that went in. And then after that, just looking for, I need to feel like I've done something. And it doesn't even have to be at a race. It could be just at the end of a workout of, I did that. I set a goal for myself of what I was going to do for today, and I did it. And even that has evolved to, I did what I was able to do today, because sometimes my body says, this is what we have planned, but this is not what you're going to do today.
Mhm.
And being able to recognize that has been another big step. And so that's been another sense of accomplishment of learning how to listen to myself and say, this is what we need to do. We can still get the same benefits just by doing this. So that's kind of been where my goals have evolved since the beginning.
Yeah, I love that answer, because not only is it a very mature way to approach running or any form of physical fitness, or mental fitness for that matter, but I love the fact that over time, it seems like your goals haven't radically changed, but they've become um, more focused. You found better ways of refining that even
Mhm.
more. You know what I mean? Like where you're like
Yeah.
you're not chasing just some time. You just want the accomplishment of knowing that you can accomplish, to overuse the
Yeah.
word, something, and you found different ways of finding the I'm not expressing myself well,
Yeah.
finding the satisfaction, and there are different ways to get to the goal. You don't
Mhm.
have to go out on a day where you're just not feeling good and run a 10 miler. If that can be broken up into a couple of fives or whatever the case may be, and you're
Yeah.
still getting it done, and you're doing it in a way that's not breaking you down, and that's just great stuff. Especially for somebody like me who I think I started running for very similar reasons. It was just a way to sort of get past my own negative inner
Mhm.
talk. Um, but what I found was by the time I ran my first race, which was after like a year and a half of sort of training on my treadmill by myself, I think it was a little bit of it wasn't healthy that I did so well as far as placement. I ran a half marathon and I ended up coming in like, I think 5th place. And, you know, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was capable of or how I measured up against anybody else in the running community. And that was almost like of course I was, you know, happy and proud of myself, you know, to speak frankly, but I think it set me up to where I was like, okay, the purpose of running is to chase time goals. And it's like I would break myself routinely in training cycles to try to get an extra 10 seconds off the clock time. And yeah, Heather, I'm far more proud of your attitude and the way you approach running than the way I've spent too many years. So Susie, I'd love to get, just to kind of reiterate the initial question that got us going. How have the goals that you had when you were a beginner runner, what were they and how do they compare to the way you approach your goals these days?
It's a great question. So I don't know that my goals have changed just for running. I think in general in life, my goals, you get older and then you put things in perspective. So especially this last year, I have put a lot more thought into my life. My years on this earth are limited. All of our lives are. So it's not that I just want to do things that make me happy, because that's not the reality of life. You're going to do a lot of things that are not going to make you that happy. But because I'm going to have to do a lot of stuff that I have to do because that's life. I'm going to try, and the moments that I can choose what I'm doing, I'm going to try and do things that make me happy. Running makes me happy. So now when I go to a race, honestly, I have a goal. I always have a goal. So I'm always like, it would be cool if I could do this, or I want to do this. But one thing that I have learned as of late is this is going to be my speed goal. This is my goal. Like I would love to get to this goal. But if I don't, this is my other goal. Like I want to have fun. I want to be able to feel like I fuel myself properly. I want to make sure that I can continue. Like yesterday, I was in an endurance event. It was a 12-hour endurance event. So I said, like, I wanted to get to running an ultra yesterday, which was kind of crazy. It was like, it would be so cool to do, like, because it was loops. You have to do loops around this one, lake. So every loop was 3 miles, 75. I could either do a marathon, meet a marathon, which I had run other times, or do the ultra. And I was like, it would be cool to have an ultra, like as a goal, because I've never run an ultra. If I ran an ultra, that would be so cool. It's a new, like meeting that goal. But then I didn't sleep well. And that morning, yesterday morning, when I woke up, it was 87 degrees and 100% humidity. So I was like, there goes my ultra. So quickly I was like, if I do like, I don't know, 6 loops, I'm going to call it a day. If I don't feel like continuing to run, I'm not impressing anybody other than me. And I choose that's going to be, my bar is, okay, if it's going to be this hot and I'm not going to be able to go the ultra, then what I'm going to do is survive to continue with my training like I didn't run a super long run today. So I chose to run only 6 laps. I did 22.5, which is my longest long run since the marathon in Disney in January. And I'm not sore today. So it's like, okay, it's a win because now I can go back to my normal, this week is 55 at marathon training. I'm not sore. I'm going to continue running. My Garmin says I'm recovered. I'm good. Like that was my win for yesterday. And on top of that, I had fun. So it's like, it was a total blast. So that was my goal for yesterday. So in other words, if my goals change during a race, I'm not going to feel bad about it because I'm too old for this. I don't have to impress anybody other than myself. And I have decided that if I have a goal for a race, so if I go to Atlantic City Marathon, and I go into the race and not feeling well, I got sick the week before, which could happen, or I have some negative pain somewhere, I'm worried about work, can't do my PR, you know what? I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to enjoy the atmosphere. I'm going to have as much fun as possible running this. And if I run it much slower than I had predicted, that is fine too, because there's going to be more marathons. So,
Yeah.
so that's kind of, I think it was a lot more competitive when I started. I definitely was a lot more competitive. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't want to get faster. I want to get faster, but if things don't, it's hard to put all your effort in one race. And then if that race doesn't happen the way you wanted it to happen, then you're going to be demoralized. And
Exactly.
honestly, I don't want that, like I'm going to move on as quickly as possible. I don't want to dwell on things that didn't happen, but could have happened. I give it my all on the day, like I give always 120% of the percentage that I have. So if I have 40% that day and I'm giving 120%, that's great. Now, if one day I have 100% and everything, all the stars align,
Yeah, exactly.
that day, like the day in Madrid, like I gave it like all my all and then I PR'd. That could happen in the future. But if it doesn't, life is what happens when you're making other plans. So, yeah,
Exactly.
I'm just not
Exactly.
gonna.
It's funny that you bring that up.
A lot of it, yeah. Oh, well, a lot of it just came down to just one day having a realization of life is just too short to not take a chance on something sometimes, which is why I keep signing up for longer and longer races. Because even if I know I'm not going to be fast, I know I may not be good at it, but I have to at least try and see if I can do it. So that's
exactly.
And you have a lot of, like, when you film your long races, I can see that you're having fun. Like, even in the moments when you're sitting on your chair and you're like, oh my God, it's hot, or like, I just did that and we still have another one. But I can tell you, like, you have that sense of pride in yourself. Like, you're looking at the camera and you're like, I'm here, I'm doing this. It's like, it makes me happy for you, because you look like you have, I don't know, that like, I'm special right now. I'm doing this.
It's an adventure.
I'm strong. And yeah, it's like, this is for me. Because ultimately, running is just for us.
Oh, thank you.
There might be people. There might be people looking at our times, which I know there's people, because sometimes when I say things, I know that people are checking my bid number and going to the internet and checking my time, because then they post about it on my Instagram. It's like, honestly, I don't have to impress you. I'm doing this for me. If you like my time, that's fine. If you don't like it, that's fine too. It's just like, my loved ones are gonna love me anyway. My husband's gonna love me the same. My son is gonna love me the same. My parents are gonna, my brother, my friends, they're gonna love me the same. So whether I'm fast or I'm not fast, that doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to me either. So
yeah, and that's a realization it's taken me a long time to come to, is that, like, I spent so many years trying to break myself, looking for that, like I was saying, that little edge that's going to give me an extra few seconds. And, and you go and you talk to your friends, or you talk to people on YouTube who are peers, and not so much the peers who are into running, but, just people, in general. And they're, you'll tell them your time, and they'll be like, and that was for how long was that marathon? It's like, and then you come to this realization that nobody else cares. I'm the only one who cares. So why don't I just chill and just enjoy this instead of just killing myself? And one thing I wanted to bring up, Susie, and something I found, Heather, that I found very interesting when I ran, even though I've never done a trail ultra before. Though I do want to do that. Just that the experience of the past 2 years at the road ultra that I ran. I think it's well known that the ultra community is a much friendlier, much more open, welcoming community than the road running community is, which isn't to say anything negative about the road running community, because that's also a great community that's very supportive. But the level of almost family feeling that you get when you're at an ultra is unbelievable. And one thing I really found that helped me to readjust my own sort of mental attitude towards running especially this past year, me and Ayapa, my friend who is also a client, ran it with me in June. And it was funny because before, during, and after the race, Ayapa, in case you watch this later, this is nothing negative, but it was funny because he was constantly sort of, you could see the wheels turning in his head of like, oh, we could have changed this one thing about the way we approached the race, and it would have shaved 15 minutes off here and 5 minutes off there. And I was kind of like, my attitude, it was the very first time I'd ever run a race where I was like, my only goal, the only thing that matters to me is that I cross that finish line. You know, this is for Pam. The promise to myself on behalf of my wife, I'm going to finish this time. Hey, there he is right there. That's hilarious. Ayapa, how's it going?
Hi, Ayapa.
And yeah, so it was funny because he came up with a lot of great ways where if we get the opportunity to run an ultra again together, or even if, separate, some great ideas for getting faster and cutting time. But I guess I didn't do a good enough job of communicating to him that I'm here for that one reason. I want to have fun and I have to cross the finish line. Those are the only things. And I didn't care if we spent 20 minutes at the aid station, like basically the trunk of our cars in some folding chairs. I didn't care if we were there forever. The time was utterly irrelevant to me. I was there to enjoy his company, which I very much did. He's a great runner with talk about a bright future ahead. Ayapa, you will get the opportunity to meet Susie and vice versa, and in Atlantic City. We'll both be there in October. But yeah, a great guy. And it was a pleasure running with him. And I'm looking forward to traveling and running with him in Atlantic City.
And if I can say something, there's nothing better than running a race with someone you like, with someone
it was
you
absolutely
enjoy.
wonderful.
There's nothing better than that. I mean, you have a blast because you have that
amazing.
time alone. Yeah, and you just doing something you both love. There's nothing better than
it was amazing because when we started that 50 miler in June, we both kind of said to each other, if I start to get on your nerves or whatever, or if you just want to you have some alone time, no apologies necessary, go. And we ran every step of that 50 miles together, and it was an absolute pleasure. To reiterate again, he's a great guy. And to put you on the spot a little bit, Ayapa, to the world, he's making improvements in his running by leaps and bounds. And if we get a perfect day weather-wise in Atlantic City, it's not going to surprise me to see Ayapa run his first sub-3 marathon. So he's incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah. So folks, we're right on an hour pretty much here. I don't want to, I don't want to cut anybody off, but if you've got Heather, you go first. If there's anything you want to share about your channel, about any of your social media, go.
Okay. All of my social media is under the name Running Geek Girl that you can see down here underneath my name. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. You can find me on Strava, looking up Running Geek Girl, and then of course my YouTube channel. As far as the YouTube channel goes, I have a lot of stuff on there for beginner runners, people who are just approaching running. A lot of my adventures as a very average runner, just trying to do bigger stuff. I am kind of, and I had an announcement about this recently, kind of cutting back on the amount that I'm going to be posting on the YouTube channel since I am starting a graduate degree this year. But I do plan on still putting up training videos and some of my regular series that I usually put up. But yeah, you can find me there. And I may start live streaming more just to fill in the spaces where I would normally put a video, just to cut back on my editing time. So yeah, I'll see you there.
Super cool. Thank you. Susie, same thing. Where can people find you? What can they look forward to seeing from you?
So my channels, I run things. YouTube is where I'm the most active. I love YouTube, and that's probably a question because I'm getting older. Younger generations like the short stuff. I really like editing the videos, and so lately I've been putting just one video up per week. Sometimes, so there's one video at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays with my weekly vlog, with what I've been doing in terms of running and exercising and fitness. I do quite a bit of lifting as well. But yeah, that's what I enjoy the most is YouTube these days. I am on Instagram as well as official. I run things. I am on TikTok as I run things. I'm less active there. I'm on Threads as official. I run things. I have a Patreon account. It's $3 a month, and there I post the weekly running vlogs. I have a schedule, and I post a lot of extra content in there. And I post with what I'm doing, like written posts as well during the week. And if you want to see me training for Atlantic City Marathon, training for Transgran Canaria, and then doing the Camino de Santiago, the 500 miles across Spain,
Amazing.
you're gonna have to subscribe. And I'm super close to 4,000. So if you
Oh,
go to
wow.
subscribe,
Good for
you're
you.
helping. You're helping. So thank you so much.
Super cool. So yeah, everybody, I'm Paul. I'm DevRunner. I'm barely posting anything anywhere, but hopefully that'll pick up. I've had several people saying they really want to see at least what remains of this training cycle for me as I prepare for Atlantic City. So I believe it or not, I have been filming daily. At the end of each run, I do a summation, but right now the gap is between. I enjoy the filming, but unlike Susie, I tend to hate the editing. So I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and get it done. So keep your eyes open. I'll probably start posting weekly just to kind of bring everybody up to speed with what I'm up to. And with that, folks, I thank you for being here. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Susie. And yeah, we'll see each other again soon, I hope. And yeah, everybody have a great one. Peace out for now.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.